You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4, moving forward.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Live at 4. First at 4, breaking news from Washington, D.C. This is a live look at the White House where President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are delivering remarks. It's President Trump's first formal meeting with a world leader since taking office.
The two leaders are expected to talk about the second phase of Israel's fragile ceasefire with Hamas. After more than a year of war, the president and Netanyahu are also expected to talk about Iran's efforts to build a nuclear weapon. This an hour after the president said Palestinians had, quote, no alternative but to leave Gaza.
All right, and we're going to listen in. Okay, well, let's listen in.
Well, I have my own views, 3 goals, not 1, not 2, 3 goals, and I will meet all 3 goals. I think the president can help enormously. He brings fresh thinking.
Any address to the fact that terrorists who murdered hundreds of people who listed their home as the part of the deal?
It's a horrible thing. We can't forget it. I'll never forget it, and you can't forget it. And some people want to put it out of their memory, but we're not going to ever let that happen. It was a horrible day, October 7th. That was a horrible period of time, and a lot of people like to pretend it didn't happen. It happened. It's a big group of people that like to pretend it didn't happen, like the Holocaust didn't happen. Same mindset. And no, we're going to get this thing wrapped up, and we're going to get it done. We're also dealing, I think, very successfully with Russia, Ukraine. We're going to hopefully get that one done at some point in the not too distant future. That's a complex problem also, but we solve problems. When I left, we had no problem. There was no Ukraine and Russia fighting. There was no October 7th. There was nothing. And some very poor leadership led to a lot of problems and a lot of death. And it's a shame, but we'll put it out. We'll put out the fires. We have a lot of fires, but we'll put them out.
Mr. President, why do you still support a Palestinian state like the peace plan you presented in January 2020? Is this plan still on the table?
Well, a lot of plans change with time, and a lot of death has occurred since I left and now came back. This death occurred not while I was here, but while somebody else was here. It shouldn't have happened. They shouldn't have allowed it to happen. It would have never happened, and that includes Russia, Ukraine would have never happened. Not even a little bit, not even a chance. But now we are faced with a situation that's different, in some ways better and in some ways worse. But we're faced with a very complex and difficult situation, but we'll solve the problem.
Mr. President, refugees get from Gaza, out of Gaza, if not Jordan, Egypt, what other countries you think might accept Palestinians from Gaza?
Well, I think Jordan and Egypt will. I know they've spoken about it with you, and they say that.
And that was President Trump and Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu talking about the ceasefire and, of course, what happened that got us here. This is his first meeting with a world leader in his second term, and we will continue to follow what is happening there with that conversation.
Despite all the reporters yelling, that is not the official press conference. They're still going to be doing that after this meeting.
More to come.
So we'll continue to follow it. The other big story today, let's get a check on the weather. The sunshine was nice, but woo, is it cold. Very cold today. Jacob's out on the patio. Hi, Jacob.
Hey, Susan, and the sunshine is no more. We're right now seeing very cloudy skies, and the temperatures are still very cold. Looking at the current conditions, 19 in Madison, upper teens to lower 20s for the most part. A lot colder compared to yesterday, up to around 15 to 20 degrees colder for pretty much everybody compared to 24 hours ago. Now, the good news is that the winds aren't too bad. It was a little breezy earlier today, and we started the day with wind chills below 0. They are now above 0, and the winds overall not too bad, but it definitely is very cold out here. Now, as we take a look at the evening forecast, we'll continue to see cloudy skies, but the cloudy skies will actually help the temperatures stay relatively steady overnight. So tomorrow morning won't be as cold as this morning. Lows will be in the teens, so still cold, but just ever so slightly better. But as we get towards tomorrow, our focus will be on the alert day conditions for some light freezing rain and ice accumulation, and it won't take a lot to create very slippery roads. Now, this is mainly for Wednesday afternoon through Wednesday evening, but we could continue to see some slippery roads as we head towards Thursday morning. So I'll take you through the forecast on that and talk about a chance of snow for the weekend, all coming up a little bit later.
Thank you, Jacob. We have a breaking update to an Amber Alert issued last night for a pregnant teenager from Beaver Dam. Police say the suspect with 16-year-old Sophia Franklin is switching license plates on his vehicle. Authorities believe 40-year-old Gary Day is headed south in a black Buick LaCrosse with the changing plates. The last known plates he had read KGW 5186. Franklin was last seen at her home Sunday night at 9. Day was last seen at Franklin's home Monday morning just before 8. The State Department of Justice says Franklin is 3 months pregnant with Day's child. If you have any information about where Franklin or Day could be, call the Beaver Dam Police. That number is 888-304-3936 for the latest updates from police on the search for Franklin and specific descriptions of her and Day. Just go to this story on channel3000.com.
An update now on a shooting that killed one person in the town of Beloit Monday. The Rock County Sheriff's Department says that shooting was an isolated incident. Just before 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, officers responded to Wisconsin Avenue in Beloit for a report of someone with a gunshot wound. The sheriff's office says that person died at the scene. Both the town and the city of Beloit police departments, along with deputies from the sheriff's office, responded to the scene. The investigation is underway.
Today, Republicans introduced new immigration legislation in Wisconsin.
It would require local law enforcement to work with ICE. Political reporter Will Keneally is at the Capitol with the latest.
This comes as the Trump administration is stepping up immigration enforcement across the country. Under the bill, if a sheriff arrests someone for a felony, they are required to check whether they are a U.S. citizen. If not, that sheriff has to alert ICE. This comes as local officials, like the Dane County Sheriff, are stepping back from cooperating with federal immigration enforcement.
We know from recent media that there are sheriffs in our state that are not interested in complying with federal law. Our message to them is do not put your personal politics above the safety of the citizens who elected you.
Now, Barrett, who's a Democrat, said that this GOP proposal undermines local control over policing. Now, shared with News 3 Now in a statement that, quote, the separation of power between the legislature and law enforcement is imperative to ensure that political narratives do not interfere with or influence our responsibilities as law enforcement. Now, coming up at 5, we'll have more on this proposal, including how this might cost taxpayers locally more money. Reporting from the state capitol, Will Keneally, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Will. For his part, Governor Evers has indicated he would veto such a bill.
New data shows that Madison schools are making progress when it comes to special education work, especially for getting kids with individualized educational programs, or IEPs, into general education classrooms. Between 2019 and 2020, and then 2023 and last year, the Madison School District saw increases in student integration in its elementary, middle, and high schools. The district says more than 80% of Madison students with an IEP are included in general education courses 80% of the time or more. That exceeds the state target of 76%. Next on Live at 4, tariffs on China now in effect.
How China is retaliating and where it could have an impact on you when we're back.
FBI employees are suing the acting attorney general. Several anonymous FBI workers accuse the Department of Justice of violating the Constitution and privacy laws. They allege a survey the DOJ is demanding employees to complete is designed to purge the Bureau of personnel who investigated President Trump and the January 6th attack.
The Trump administration's tariff on Chinese goods took effect at midnight, prompting swift retaliation from China.
Natalie Brand is at the White House with the details and what comes next.
With the Trump administration's tariffs on China now in effect, China is punching back, saying it will impose tariffs of its own on U.S. imports. The White House says President Trump plans to speak to Chinese President Xi Jinping soon.
The president made it very clear with the 10% tariff on China that he is not going to allow China to continue to source and distribute deadly fentanyl into our country.
Starting next week, China says it will impose a 15% tariff on coal and liquefied natural gas products coming from the U.S., as well as a 10% tariff on crude oil, agricultural machinery, and large engine cars.
This time they have a slightly different strategy of hitting oil markets.
Philip Luck served as the deputy chief economist at the State Department under the Biden administration.
It's going to reduce demand for U.S. goods, and it's going to have a negative effect on the economy.
The tit for tat with China comes as proposed tariffs on Mexico and Canada are on pause for at least a month while negotiations over border security continue. Canada has promised more choppers, drones, and personnel, as well as a new position for a fentanyl czar. Mexico's president has promised 10,000 National Guard troops to help block the flow of drugs and migrants. But in the border town of Laredo, Texas, business owners who rely on the flow of trade are still worried.
With an extension of just 30 days, that doesn't push anything. The only thing it does is pushes the line. It doesn't erase the uncertainty.
Many say they're stocking up on Mexican goods now in case tariffs happen down the road, causing prices to increase. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
And President Trump's picks for HHS Secretary and National Intelligence Director are advancing. As soon as next week, the full Senate could confirm Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the next leader of the Department of Health and Human Services. Earlier today, the Senate Finance Committee narrowly advanced Kennedy to the full Senate along party lines. Within the last 2 hours, Senate Intelligence Committee members voted to advance Tulsi Gabbard to a Senate floor vote, also along party lines.
In Sweden, at least 10 people are dead after the worst mass shooting in the country's history. Police say the suspect, who is believed to be among the dead, opened fire on the campus of a school for adults in the city of Örebro. Police are still trying to determine a motive, but so far they do not believe this attack was terrorism.
The remains of all 67 victims of last Wednesday's deadly plane crash in D.C. have now been recovered. It comes as the National Transportation Safety Board is analyzing data from the American Airlines jet's cockpit voice and flight data recorders. This as the Washington Post reports that 2 airport workers have been arrested for allegedly leaking video of the crash to CNN. The passenger plane plunged into the Potomac after a mid-air collision with an Army Black Hawk helicopter last Wednesday. NTSB leadership says a final report on what happened could take more than a year.
Job openings at U.S. businesses shrank much more than expected to close out 2024. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports the number of available jobs sank from 8.16 million in November to an estimated 7.6 million in December. That's lower than economists expected. Some of the biggest drop-offs in openings were at small businesses and for white-collar roles. Most of the slowdown came from a pullback in hiring since layoffs continue to remain low.
Let's get a check on the forecast. It is a cold one today, but could be very slippery this time tomorrow. Jacob?
Yeah, looking at the 3 things you need to know. The first one is that wintry mix expected for tomorrow, especially tomorrow afternoon. And then we're going to see some snow for Saturday. And then right now it looks like next week is going to be very cold. Not quite as cold as some of those days in January, but we definitely could be seeing several mornings where the wind chills are at, if not below 0. I'll talk about that later. Here's a look at the alert day information. Freezing rain and ice accumulation for southern Wisconsin. The further south you're located, the more ice you are expecting to see. And this is for Wednesday afternoon and evening into the overnight hours for Wednesday. So for tonight, we're going to continue to see mostly cloudy skies, maybe a few peaks of clear skies. Can't rule out some flurries, but otherwise mostly dry. Clouds will increase even further for Wednesday afternoon. And although nothing is showing up on the forecast for this time, we definitely could see some light flurries and some light freezing rain. But the best chance for some consistent snow and freezing rain will be during the evening. And typically with freezing rain, a lot of times you get some of this like misty see freezing rain, and that would freeze on surfaces, and that definitely is possible, especially for areas near the Wisconsin-Illinois border. Now, the further north you're located, the better chance you will see mostly snowfall, and not going to be as slippery, but still slippery at times with that snowfall, because we could see some light accumulation. And the freezing rain chance will mostly be during the evening. By the later overnight hours into early Thursday morning, it'll be mostly snow, and then we're expecting dry conditions after sunrise for Thursday. But looking at the ice accumulation, it may not seem like a lot, but this is certainly enough to create those very slippery roads. Also want to point out that the further south and southeast you're located, the more ice you will see, and it may continue to be slippery into Thursday morning, but the alert day is mainly for Wednesday evening. And as far as the snowfall forecast, not going to see too much, maybe about a dusting for Dane County, up to around a ½ inch, maybe a full inch for far northern counties. Now looking a little bit further, as we head into Saturday, we are going to start to see some snow showers. It looks like it'll move in Friday night, and then throughout the afternoon on Saturday, we are expecting the snow to increase across our area, with scattered snow showers for much of the region Saturday afternoon through evening, especially north of Madison. But it does look like it will clear out by the time we get to Sunday morning. I know a lot of people probably have Super Bowl plans. It looks like it will be dry for Sunday. Now, we're not going to talk about the numbers just yet, but the best chance of accumulation will be off to the north for northern counties. Moderate accumulation chances for Dane County. The further south and also to the southwest, the smallest accumulation chances for you folks. Now, as we look at the full 7 to 10 day forecast, temperatures the rest of this week won't be quite as cold as they were today. We'll be in the 30s to upper 20s. But take a look at next week. A lot of mornings with single-digit lows and high temperatures struggling to even get to 20. Although it does look like we'll start out the week dry. We may see some snow chances to end the week, but we're certainly going to be colder.
Thank you, Jacob. Yeah, winter says I'm not done with you yet.
That's exactly right.
Well, the Dane County Humane Society is rehabilitating dozens of cats that were rescued yesterday from a hoarder home in Wapaka County.
Transporting that many kitties takes a village, and our Merrill Hubbard walks us through this rescue mission.
On Monday, this hallway was full of felines after a rescue mission brought 43 of them to Madison.
Be the Change Rescue in Edgar, Wisconsin got a call in January to help out a hoarder home that had about 100 cats inside. The owner of the home is terminally ill and unable to relocate this cat colony on their own. That's where Be the Change Rescue stepped in and transported as many cats as they could to centers in Madison. The Dane County Humane Society and Angel's Wish in Verona welcomed all of these shy and social kitties, giving them the care they need before finding their forever home.
They all have individual needs, and we want to make sure we're reaching all of them. Are they socialized at all? Some were very, very scared and were not socialized very well, not as much as him. Where he's just very curious about everything.
Bobo is one of these social kitties, and he's already up for adoption. Many others are still being treated for fleas and ringworm, but the Humane Society says they will go up for adoption once they are healthy. And Be the Change Rescue is working on retrieving the rest of the cats from the home. Reporting in Madison, Merrill Hubbard, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Meryl. And you can find more information about this rescue and the cats up for adoption on our website, channel3000.com.
Hope they all get good homes.
Yeah. Bobo was ready for his close-up.
Yes, he was.
Well, coming up on Live at 4, a sneak peek of this week's Wisconsin Huddle.
Plus, Josh Spreiter previews an event set to make a big splash this weekend in the 608. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. In the 608, the Cambridge community is coming together this weekend to celebrate a big milestone for an event focused on giving back.
Our Josh Spreiter is near Lake Ripley, and he has the story.
We are at Lake Ripley Park Beach, where this ice behind us is going to be looking a little different here this weekend. We're talking about Dip for Dozer, and they're celebrating a huge milestone in the community. Kim Zulsdorf is joining us. Kim, good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Thanks for having us here.
Yeah, so let's talk about Dip for Dozer. This goes back 20 years, which is quite an honor here for this community.
Yes, 20 years, and when we first started the DIP, we never imagined it would become an annual event, and it's really gotten to be a community-wide event where different organizations and businesses participate in many ways to make this a celebration, really. So we've gotten to the point where we have organizations that we actually contribute back to as part of the whole DIP event. So it's not even just a day. We try to do events leading up to it, too, to get others involved, give back a little bit more to some of those people who've been helping us out through the years. So one of the things that we do here is, we've got hot food, we've got turkey bowling. That's a benefit for another scholarship fund for bowling. And it just has gotten to the point where we enjoy the day and celebrate the lake and everything it has to offer here in the Cambridge community.
So what do you think your son Dozer would have to say about how much this has grown over the last 20 years?
I think I'm sure he's pretty surprised, but I also think that he loves every minute of it and is just glad that we're keeping the legacy going.
So if people are interested, this Saturday, this is going to be the place to be. What do people need to know and how to be involved?
Yeah, so if you want to jump in the lake, we are glad to have you do that. Just come down and register ahead of time. You can come down on Saturday morning before we dip from 11:30 to 12:30, and we dip at 1 o'clock. Otherwise, I would love to have spectators here. We want it to be a carnival fun atmosphere.
And this is going to be the place to be. Kim, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you.
If you'd like to learn more about Dip for Dozer and celebrating 20 years and how you can give back here in the Cambridge community, just go to the story up on channel3000.com. In Cambridge, I'm Josh Breiter, News 3 Now.
Kim is amazing.
It's an amazing mama.
Yeah. I've interviewed her a couple of times, and I'm working on a separate story that'll air on Live at 4 at Thursday to help get the word out about this wonderful event.
It's amazing to see all the people that join. Now, would you ever consider jumping?
For a good cause like this, yes, but it looked pretty cold out there.
I'll have to check Jacob's weather first.
Yeah, we can watch from here and support still.
If they can do it, we can do it. Still ahead tonight on Live at 4, a chaotic scene involving 10 dogs at a Quick Trip parking lot.
Police tell Armand Rahman how they responded to this very strange call.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Let's take a look outside. See the wind whipping in the field not far from the station. Turning icy later tomorrow are the weather words. So Jacob, is this one of those situations where the temperature is going to be critical? Ice is the worst.
Yeah, it looks like we'll be right on that fringe of the freezing level. It also does look like that our area might be split between all snow and all freezing rain. Now, as we take a look at the current radar, we are not seeing that snow right now in our region, but zooming further out, you can see there it is off to the west, and it's going to slowly make its way across the Midwest and into our area. The alert day, this is for all of southern Wisconsin, mainly for the freezing rain and ice accumulation, but we could see some light snow accumulation for a few locations, especially for areas north of Madison. This is for southern Wisconsin, but especially the further south you go near the Wisconsin-Illinois border, that's the best chance for the freezing rain accumulation. Really starting around 6 p.m. tomorrow and lasting until 6 a.m. Thursday. That's when we expect to see the roads be the most slippery, so definitely just take it easy during that time frame. Now, for this evening, it is going to be cold, but it is going to be dry. Cloudy skies, teens for the temperatures, and it won't be quite as cold during the overnight hours as it was this morning. It will still be cold, though, as lows will drop into the teens, but just a little bit better. Now, I'll talk more in detail about the freezing rain and ice accumulation and show you the forecast for our next system for the weekend. I'll have those details all a little bit later.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Right now, the Trump administration is drafting an executive order to begin the process of eliminating the Department of Education.
The two-part plan would begin with an order directing the Secretary of Education to create a plan to diminish the department through executive action. The president would also push for Congress to pass legislation to end the department. That's a move that's historically failed to get congressional support. Last week, dozens of employees at the department were placed on paid administrative leave as part of the larger effort from the Trump administration to rid the federal workforce of employees associated with diversity, equity, and inclusion.
A scary moment for customers at an East Madison Quick Trip yesterday evening. Multiple dogs got loose and bit several people.
Armand Rahman spoke to police about the details of the strange call.
This quick trip on Madison's east side turned into a bit of a chaotic scene Monday night when Madison police responded to a report of multiple dogs loose in the parking lot. According to the Madison Police Department, a woman was living with about 10 dogs in a large vehicle she parked at the quick trip. Officers arrived to find the dogs had gotten loose. The dogs were different sizes and breeds and were aggressive. 8 people reported getting bit, including an MPD sergeant and Madison Fire Department paramedic. It took about 2 hours total to secure all of the animals.
We have a police report that detailed people were huddled inside of the gas station because they feared getting to their vehicle. They didn't want to have a dog run up to them or to be attacked and get injured themselves. So, things could have been worse, but we did see a pretty chaotic scene last night.
They were taken to the Dane County Humane Society. The woman was given 15 city citations and 1 referral for a criminal offense, and authorities believe for some of the animals it was not their first run-in with law enforcement. More on that tonight at 6. No animal or person was seriously injured in this incident. Reporting in Madison, Armand Rama, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Armand. On Wall Street, calm returned after swinging sharply yesterday due to concerns about tariffs with Canada and Mexico, both now delayed by a month. The Dow gained 134 points, the Nasdaq is up 262 points, and the S&P 500 is up 43.
A century-old building in Beloit is being renovated and will soon be completed for use by Visit Beloit.
Kyle Pozorski made the trip there today and shares what's in store.
A multi-year renovation on this building is wrapping up phase 1 to turn it into a sort of hub to showcase the great things Beloit has to offer. The Romanesque Revival building was built back in 1914, serving as St. Paul's Catholic Church for 74 years, then as the Angel Museum for 20. Visit Beloit has never had a space of their own until now, with CEO Celestino Ruffini saying the work to convert the space to fit their needs will breathe new life into the century-old property.
We saw this as a size of space that doesn't exist significantly here in the community. It's a type of renovation or a type of property that doesn't exist here in the community. It also provides us opportunities to have more events, programming, concerts, here in this building to give people reasons to stay longer when they do choose to come visit Beloit.
The renovated building will have office space in the basement, plus an events venue on the main floor. Visit Beloit is seeking a liquor license to hold events in the space like Wednesday Wind Down. Right now, the application is being referred to the Alcohol Beverage License Control Committee, all before being voted on by the City Council. In Beloit, Kyle Pozorski, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Kyle. Phase 1 will wrap up in the next month, while Phase 2 plans to add a large addition to the building for more office and meeting space. Well, it's a big weekend for the Badger men's hockey team as they come back home to take on Penn State in a must-win series.
The Badgers are battling for home ice in their conference tournament. They currently sit 5th in the Big Ten standings, just 1 point behind Michigan. This week on the Wisconsin Huddle, junior defenseman Ben Dexheimer joins the show. Dexheimer says while this team has had challenges this season, they are ready to take care of business.
It's a big weekend, but it is also just another 2 games, and we've already played 28 of them this year, so it's no different than however many we've played in the past, and I think that's when our group's successful, is we go into the game and we play our game, we do what we need to do, and that's when we've been successful this year.
And you can watch this week's Wisconsin Huddle this Friday right after News 3 Now at 6. Go Badgers.
Yes, still to come tonight on Live at 4. Black History Month is underway.
Our Jalen Banks shows us how the Wisconsin Legislative Black Caucus is commemorating the month when Live at 4 returns. Welcome back, everyone. The Rotunda was home for the kickoff for Black History Month events by the Wisconsin Legislative Black Caucus this afternoon.
Our Jalen Banks joins us from the state capitol on how the caucus is celebrating Wisconsin Black history.
The Wisconsin Legislative Black Caucus kicked off Black History Month by celebrating the past, present, and future of Black history in the Badger State.
Through music, speeches, and prayer, the Wisconsin Legislative Black Caucus kicked off Black History Month with the first of their events that run through the end of the month. The event honored local educators, spiritual leaders, civil rights advocates, and others. Something Representative Sheila Stubbs feels only motivates others to continue the work of equality.
And so for me, it's important to stand on history.
being a part of the NAACP, that is our foundation. So I am standing on the history with President Jones, and then I also love God. So I'm standing on the foundation with my husband, Bishop Sebbs. So the two of them together equates Black History Month.
Tonight at 6, we'll hear from the founder of One City Schools on the importance of involving youth at events such as these. For now, reporting at the Capitol, Jalen Banks, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Jalen. For more Black History Month stories, you can find them by clicking the Black History Month tab on our website. That's channel3000.com.
Still to come tonight on Live at 4, today is World Cancer Day.
UW Health's Dr. Jeff Potoff joins us to talk about who the disease is affecting the most right now and when to get screened. And here's a live look at the New Orleans skyline. The Chiefs and the Eagles are in the city preparing for the Super Bowl on Sunday. Good weather there. It's 75 degrees right now, a little cloudy, but that's okay. Well, today is World Cancer Day. It's a day to raise awareness of cancer detection and treatment.
Also, a medical mystery is unfolding in Kansas, one of the largest outbreaks of tuberculosis in U.S. history. Lots to talk about today with UW Health's Dr. Jeff Potoff. Hi, Dr. Potoff. Good to see you. Let's start with talking about World Cancer Day. And cancer is such a hard thing to talk about because it's so all-encompassing. Brady and I both lost our moms to cancer last year. And behind all of the statistics that we talk about is a unique human story for every single person diagnosed with cancer. What is your message on a day like World Cancer Day about where we are fighting this?
Yeah, I think part of it is to not forget the person behind the diagnosis. I think that's always important, and not just the person, like the whole family. It affects a whole bunch of people. I think cancer is a tricky thing, second leading cause of death, but at the same time, despite seeing cancer happening in people who are younger, we're also seeing an explosion in treatments that target cancer, or at least treatments that make cancer treatment not as unbearable. We've gone from the days of like pretty crude chemotherapy that would, address the cancer, but at the same time, like make all your hair fall out, make you really sick, kind of put you out of commission for months, to things like precision medicine, where we're able to understand the weaknesses, the expressions of genes that cancers have, target that with specific medicine so it doesn't make you so sick. Immunotherapies like checkpoint inhibitors like Keytruda, CAR T therapy, where we can take T cells, program them to attack your cancer, grow them in a lab, inject them back into you. There's just so many exciting technologies out there to combat cancer too. But I think we're all in it together. There's no one who hasn't been affected by cancer.
And that's so true. When my mom had metastatic breast cancer, she had it for 4 years. Her treatment kept the cancer at bay for a long time. And through that, I learned a lot of people are living with cancer and they need those treatments to live their best lives day to day and keep that disease at bay. So is that important for us to think about?
I think it is too. I mean, everyone wants to be fully cured from their cancer, and when possible, that's absolutely the goal. But more and more people are able to live with their cancer. So it may not be gone, you may not cure it, but we have medications that keep it at bay, so that people can do the important things. Like, it's not so much about cure or not cure, it's about, can you go to your granddaughter's wedding? Like, can you do the things that you want to do, have a meaningful and productive life? Those should really be the goals of cancer therapy, not whether or not we got every cell.
It's still such a terrifying diagnosis, despite all of the advances. It's still daunting to face it.
I think absolutely. I think the good news too is like survival rates from cancer have gotten better. Things for like breast cancer, 90% 5-year survival, prostate cancer, 98%. We still have some work to do with lung cancer and pancreatic cancer, but it's not the death sentence that it once was.
And everyone advocate for yourselves, trust your body, get screened.
Good advice.
Yeah, early detection.
For sure.
Our other topic, the tuberculosis outbreak, what is that telling us about, I guess, trust in public health and trying to minimize these things?
Yeah, so tuberculosis is a tricky disease. We don't see it very often in the United States. We occasionally have these outbreaks. It's actually fairly easy to spread person to person. It's aerosol, just kind of like what we experienced with COVID. And it's really important to have a very robust public health response, because what you need to do is you have to identify the person who has tuberculosis, and then you have to contact trace. You got to figure out, who else were they exposed to, and really isolate these folks, get them on treatment so that we don't have more and more people coming down with this. So the outbreak in Kansas City is certainly taxing their public health system right now.
And there is a vaccine, or there isn't one?
There is a vaccine. BCG is a vaccine that's available not typically in the United States. The vaccine has variable uptake as far as efficacy, and then it messes up our ability to detect if people have been exposed to TB. With those skin tests, a lot of healthcare providers will know getting that little skin test once a year. But for the most part, it's about identifying people who could have it. Typically, they travel into the country and then making sure we contain those infections when they happen.
Thanks for being here with us today.
No problem.
Great to see you, Dr. Potoff.
And let's get a look at our first warn forecast. Here's Jacob Montesano. Jacob?
Thanks, Brady. As we take a look at the 3 things you need to know, we're going to see that wintry mix for tomorrow, especially in the afternoon and evening, with some snow expected Saturday. And then it is going to remain cold this week, but next week it looks like we're going to see several days where the temperatures are going to get pretty cold. I'll talk about just how cold in a moment, but first let's take a look at the alert day forecast. Cloudy skies overnight. Can't rule out some light flurries, but for the most part, we're going to be dry until we get to Wednesday afternoon, where we see some light snow moving in to start, but the bulk of the precipitation won't be until a little bit later. Now, it may not look like there's a lot that's going to fall, and that may be true, but with freezing rain, it does not take a lot to create these very slippery roads. Plus, it is possible that, just because it doesn't show up on radar doesn't mean it's not precipitating, and that could cause some ice accumulation. So, again, don't pay too much attention to how light the precipitation is, because just a little bit of that freezing rain could create hazardous travel. Now, this is going to especially occur during the evening into the early overnight hours. Once we get to early Thursday, it looks like temperatures will be cold enough to where we'll mostly see snowfall, which still may create some slippery roads, but then we are expecting dry conditions after sunrise for Thursday. But again, we still may see some hazardous travel from the system that's precipitating for the overnight hours Wednesday. So as we take a look at the ice accumulation forecast, again, about 1/100 of an inch to 1/10 of an inch for a good chunk of the area. That is enough to create those slippery roads, as I've been mentioning. As we take a look at the snowfall forecast, could see about a 1/2 inch to a full inch of snow far off to the north. Madison and Dane County may only see a dusting. Again, not going to be a huge issue with the snowfall, especially as you go further north where the freezing rain is less likely. Now, we are likely going to see a lot more snowfall accumulation for the weekend. Right now, it looks like the system will move in Friday night, but then throughout Saturday, we are expecting widespread snow showers. Doesn't look like it's going to be too heavy at any given point, but it could last for quite a while throughout much of Saturday afternoon. But the good news is that for all of you that have Super Bowl plans, it looks like it will clear out well in time for any travel plans you may have for the Super Bowl. Sunday does look to be dry, but we are expecting some accumulation with that system Saturday. Highest accumulation will be off to the north. About moderate accumulation right now, maybe about 2 to 5 inches, but that can rise or lower for the middle shade, and then the light blue at the bottom, that's the smallest accumulation potential.
On the next Live at 4, send us your plant questions. Lisa Briggs will be in the studio to answer them.
And it's our Day of Warmth telethon. Help us help others in need by donating to keep the Warm Cool Fund going.
Well, attention Met Gala guests, it's time to suit up.
We're talking about Met Gala outfits in the break. We got caught there. The Metropolitan Museum of Art revealed the dress code for its annual lavish celebration of fashion in May, tailored for you. A nod to the accompanying exhibit's focus on suiting and menswear. It's a suitable concept for the first Met Gala exhibit in more than 20 years to focus exclusively on menswear, specifically black style in menswear over the centuries. This will be very interesting, Brady. The Met Gala is May 5th. You getting some inspiration there?
I am. I always love to see what people are wearing. It's like wearing art versus clothing.
Well, that's what we were talking about. Jacob mentioned Will Smith's son at the Grammys wore the castle on his head. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Well, I think the only thing that we need to be wearing are winter coats out there.
Yeah, or anything warm. It's continuing to be cold, but especially cold next week. But as I've been talking about, we have the alert day tomorrow and then snow for Saturday.
Tomorrow on Live at 4, please join us to kick off our Day of Warmth telethon. And later on News 3 Now at 6, we have some tips for tackling tax season. Thanks for watching Live at 4 today. We hope to see you back here tomorrow. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.